passes, the conversation around the now row between US and Nigeria just continues to expand with new angles popping up every other time. As it stands today, we are still at that point where the question of how Nigeria is responding or will respond is still very much quite a highlight beyond what the media handlers of President Tinubu are saying from the presidency. What more should we do as a country, diplomatically in particular? Because as it stands right now, it has become quite a tense situation between both countries that before now had enjoyed at least relatively cordial relations, whether in trade or in the area of diplomacy. What exactly should be our approach at this point in time, beyond Daniel Bwala, who is one of President Bola Tinubu's media aides, saying that the president and Trump will meet very soon, either in Nigeria or in Washington? Well, those are the conversations we're having this morning. I'm joined by someone who is not only passionate about this development, but wants to share, quite frankly, what we're dealing with right now, what the implications are, and what we must quickly do to be able to tackle this challenge. Prince Barrister Idris Muhammad Maina Waziri is President, United Tribes of Nigeria, UTN. He's also founder, the Fiscal and Civic Rights Enlightenment Foundation, as well as the initiator, the Awaken movement. I'd like to say a big thank you to you, Idris, for coming on the show on short notice.
Thank you very much for the invitation.
Great. So let's begin first with where we are right now. When this all started with Senator Ted Cruz talking about Christian genocide in northern Nigeria in particular, it looked like it was just going to be a fleeting narrative, or at best some sort of a storm in a teacup. But we know better now. It has obviously snowballed into a bigger problem. Talk to us about what the elements are.
Right. I believe this is not a religious issue. It is purely an issue of grass. We have cattle that need to eat, and we have farmers that have planted their crops and do not want it destroyed. It's as simple as that. Now, I don't want to gloss over the issue. People are losing their lives, right. You know what I mean? And anytime lives are being lost, it's a serious issue. Now, why it has become a supposed religious issue is because predominantly the herdsmen are Muslim, and predominantly the farmers from the middle belt downwards are Christian. So when that problem is allowed to just continue and fester, and the wrong narrative by our local politicians, because it started from them, right, is being propagated, and then it is, the masses, unfortunately, have been deliberately uneducated, kept in a state of unenlightenment, right? So you and I can listen to this particular analysis and see the sense in it. The vast majority just go with the crowd. Oh, it's a religious issue. Oh, they want to exterminate Christians. Oh, it's a simple case of a herdsman who is nomadic by nature, traveling down south and causing problems where problems don't need to be. And all of this boils down to a lack of proper leadership and governance. Because if you set up investments that contain this nomadic nature of the Fulani, all right? So what is it now? We have in America, and I think even in South America, they're very, very adept to this ranching thing, right? So if you have ranches, or you have states that now take it upon themselves to now say, you know what, all we are going to do is produce food for livestock. That is it. That is our selling point. Do you understand? That is it. And even if it is a whole region, let's take the whole Northeast region, go into food production for both human beings and livestock. Like I said, I'm from Potuskum in Yobe State. We have the largest cattle market in West Africa, not in Nigeria.
In West Africa?
In West Africa. It is there in Potuskum in Yobe State, right? So why aren't we thinking about setting up industries that are ancillary to cattle livestock rearing? Tannery businesses, everything, you know what I mean? Why don't we set it up there, create this thing, and contain these people there? It's a cultural thing for them, to be honest with you. You know what I mean? That movement, that nomadic thing, it's part of their way of life, right? But we can have dialogues with them and say, look, times have changed. They used to have grazing routes that they used to ply along the way. Over time, obviously, urbanization, development has cropped and taken up those routes, right? Again, government never looked at that and addressed the issue. You know what I mean? And that's why we are where we are, and allowing now the international community to jump on the narrative that was created locally. It was created locally to now jump on, and for other reasons other than the religious factor. Because I was listening to someone outside and he was making a very good point. If it is about saving Christians, why are you thinking about invading Venezuela? Doesn't make sense. That's a country that's practically 99% Christian.
Right.
Same thing with Colombia. Why are these countries of concern? Because there are other interests involved. Let us not be fooled. Our ancestors did it. The white man came and for peanuts took over and put us on this path of disunity, okay? Because when they came, what they found was a collection of tribes. That's why I'm saying we should go back, we should revert back to what we were before they came, so that we can understand who we are as a people, okay? And then if we socially reorient ourselves, then we can start thinking about the politics and the economics. But for now, we are a scattered country, we are a disunited country, we have no purpose, we have no goal. Every administration comes, if it's 4 years, if it's 8 years, we're pressing reset and starting again because the next guy is coming to throw all of that out the window. That's not how a country develops.
I want us to talk about quickly this issue of ranching. I know it had come up one time. I saw a few houses of assembly that even put up some public hearing at that time. We may say, well, they did all of that for the optics or whatever, but at least we saw a bit of effort. Yes, all of those maybe at best scratching the surface and all of that. What are the impediments in terms of being able to establish ranching as a practice?
Simple. Lack of political will, lack of sincerity in leadership. That's the simple answer right there. People, this is not rocket science. Right. You know what I mean? I have friends that are ministers, I have people that I have uncles that have been ministers, you understand? And they all make it seem as if it's one massive thing they're doing. It is not. You're just making it seem like that so that you can retain that illusion of power that you have. You know what I mean? But setting up a ranch, like I said, if I was governor of Yobe State, it's done. It's as simple as that. You sit down with, like I said, I'll fly to Texas. You know what I mean? I'll sit down with private investors and say, look, I have this problem. What is the solution? Are you interested in coming to do it here? If not, come and be a consultant. Even if that's not a problem, point me in the right direction. You know what I mean? And once we get that and we sit down, the resources are there. All the government, the monthly allocation, that's AWUF that they send to us every month, every state, right? I would use that. And within the first 100 days, we have movement, we have traction. Right. There's seemingly, you know what I mean? But like you said, they spoke about it, they did the photo ops and all of that, and that was it. As with everything else in Nigeria, it's all about the show. Why am I happy about what Trump has done right now? At least it's made them sit up. There is activity. It's as if there's blood in government right now, because before now, you wonder, do we even have a government? You know what I mean? I read the first statement that they put out in response to Trump. It said nothing. It did not say you knew what the problem was. It did not say you're tackling it. It did not say how you are planning to address it. No, you just said, well, you know, that's it. And that's the usual rhetoric. You know what I mean? So that's it, sincerity of purpose.
As it stands right now, it appears people are saying that President Tinubu has not spoken. And then I'm wondering, it's a bit ironic because we're seeing quite a number of his handlers coming up to say this or say that. We're seeing Daniel Bwala, for example, and the chief amongst them, Mr. Bayo Nadoga, has also spoken, for instance. And it still appears we have not moved a pin just yet. What would you expect President Bola Tinubu, as the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, to be doing at this point in time under these circumstances?
Well, obviously, we just said it before. He should have been doing something a long time ago. But notwithstanding, be assertive. Show us that we have a leader. You understand? Trump is manning up, beating his chest around the world, not just in Nigeria. You know what I mean? But he's doing that because he understands what that office requires of him. Forget his natural character. You know what I mean? The office requires someone that is a leader. I don't feel like I have a leader. I don't feel like I'm being led in the right direction. Okay? So it's not about him not having spoken. It's when he does speak, how is he speaking? Is he cowering under the might of the US? Or is he standing up to say, wait, calm down, no. We don't need your help here. You know what I mean? Yes, we agree. There is a problem. But see what the actual problem is, and we are going to solve it. We don't need your boots on the ground here. You know what I mean? But you're not going to get that from him for, whatever reasons. People say he has issues that he's afraid to even go to the US because of all that whole FBI case files and all of that, you know what I mean? So when you have something like that hanging over your neck, then you put the whole country at risk because your own personal past is why you are not able to man up to Donald Trump and say, this is the issue. So that is what is lacking from the villa right now. It's not so much he hasn't spoken. It's when he does speak, how is he going to sound? Because I don't want my leader to be like this to Trump. No. I want my leader to identify the problem, tell Trump that we don't need to become Iraq and Afghanistan under the guise of we are looking for. Because again, let's be real with ourselves. They're not interested in religious war here. They're interested in our resources. The same resources that we have stupidly just allowed to just be wasting. So again, if it was you now, I see it, this guy don't know what he wants to do with it. I'll come show you how to do it. You know what I mean? And if I'm not sincere, and sincerity, if I'm not sincere about the help, then I'm going to come and rape you the same way their ancestors raped us. You know what I mean?
Quite interesting here. But there's a school of thought that believes that Nigeria had, in a manner of speaking, left the door open for the US because in 2014, of course, the picture is everywhere, where we had seen Nigerian leaders, including the now President Bola Tinubu, reach out to US authorities here on our soil to say, look, the former president, Dr. Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, was incapable of redeeming the country, so to speak, protecting the country, securing the country. At that point, it was Boko Haram that was the star boy, so to speak, of insecurity in Nigeria. And there's now reference being made to that incident of more than a decade ago. How do we fix that broken link now, whether from the government side? I mean, what should be the best approach at this point? Because the president, the US president has been very vehement and he's been relentless in his rhetorics about how that the US will attack Nigeria.
So we're talking about how do we solve the actual problem, which is insecurity.
Right.
Yes? Of course, every country, look at Ukraine, Russia, every country would require assistance from allies, okay? Yes, there has, since Jonathan, let's go back to Obasanjo. Boko Haram started during Obasanjo. In fact, it even started in my home state, actually, Potosko, the same Potosko we're talking about. That's Yobe State, that's where they were. They were called, the people in Yobe used to call them the Taliban, obviously, in reference to, I think there was a little clash, right? Some of their members were arrested. Then the original leader now led a prison break, and that's when Obasanjo was like, again, leadership. Yeah, Obasanjo decisively acted on that issue as soon as it started. I believe the first leader, that initial leader, was killed in that first army retaliation for the police break-in. Right. That's when Mohammed Yusuf now migrated the group to Borno. Okay, and the story goes...
What is in Northeast?
All within the same Northeast. So they now did what, they moved from Borno to Yobe, and from Yobe to Borno, where they found government patronage. Because the then governor, Senator Ali Modu Sharif, right, created a ministry, or is it a commissioner, ministry in the state called the Ministry of Religious Affairs, right? And it is under that ministry that Boko Haram, under Mohammed Yusuf, was, again, allegedly, I wasn't even living in the Arab area, but allegedly was being funded by the state government. And he was being used, they were being used I don't want to go into issues like that because, again, I'm not versed on it, I don't know much about it. I just hear the details. But basically, their growth in Borno was kind of like in league with the state government of the day. You know what I mean? And it was when, I believe, again, what we hear, some of their members were killed. Shekau, who was number 2 at the time, wanted blood. Mohammed Yusuf doused him, said, no, let's just go, let's just do our funeral procession and let's get on with it. During the funeral procession, again, government, high-handedness, came and killed more members. That's when now Mohammed Yusuf, again, could no longer contain his number 2, his deputy, Shekau, who we all later came to.
Right.
So that's when he no longer could contain him. And again, rightly so. We're just doing a funeral procession. You come again and you extrajudicially kill some of our members. So there was an uprising, and that uprising, if you remember the early days of Boko Haram would literally give you a warning. We are coming to attack government here, or run, don't be here, civilians. You know what I mean? They were actually giving it, under Mohammed Yusuf, there was that etiquette. They would only attack military or police or government installations, right? And it was in retaliation to this high-handedness that our government always seems to think that that is the solution to any kind of civilian protest. Okay, so long story short, Yar'Adua, again, another decisive president, came in and just like Obasanjo, went in and Mohamed Yusuf lost his life. But how did he lose his life is now, as a lawyer now.
The circumstances around.
Yeah, I would now raise the question.
Was that extrajudicial?
Absolutely. This man was caught. The army caught him. They brought him. But again, the gist is because the state government did not want people knowing their connection, right? They just summarily executed the man. If you remember, the commissioner of inter-religious affairs at the time, I think his name was Ibrahim Foy or something like that.
In Benue State?
No, in Borno.
State.
The sitting commissioner.
Right.
We saw videos of this man being led by police in a police pickup truck. They dropped him in handcuffs and leg chains, marched him, told him to start walking, and they executed him on camera. We all saw it. And what was all of that about? Cover up. If the stories are true, that was just a plain, simple up cover up. You caused the problem, and you thought by killing them off, you would solve the problem. But unfortunately, now who was the leader? Ibrahim Shekau. Yeah? And that was when Boko Haram.
Number 2.
Yeah, the former number 2. The former maybe number 3, because they started under number 1 now in Porto School, moved to Mohamed Yusuf in Borno, and when Mohamed Yusuf was executed, he now stepped up. And then again, if it was you, let's always put our shoes on the other foot. I'm not speaking on behalf of them, but I'm just saying, let's as human beings now look at the scenario, see the trajectory, and then see how that problem now became a national problem. You understand?
Right.
And it's the same thing everywhere you go. The Niger Delta militants, the bandits, the kidnappers, all these problems stem from one source: bad leadership, bad governance. Because believe me, if our industries were working, right, we had all these factories, the textile factories, the whatever, if they were all functioning, these youth would not be in the bush kidnapping and doing banditry. Who wants to put his life at risk? Nobody. But there is no opportunity. If I was in America, and even if I didn't have education, I can go to a steel plant and sweat and get paid because the opportunities are there. Well, actually, America is kind of destabilizing right now. So we have homeless people in America just as we have here. So America right now, I'm sorry, you really have nothing to tell me.
Right.
You know what I mean? You have nothing right now that I should look at America and say, yeah, come, help me. There's nothing. Help yourselves. You people look like you need help right now.
There was a time under Jonathan when we thought America would be, as it were, the messiah in this case. What were we looking at that time? Because there was the talk about how that the U.S. had been reluctant or even outrightly refused to sell weapons to Nigeria.
Again, when there is wide-scale corruption in any administration, and during Jonathan and PDP at the time, I think that was the height of PDP's worst period, right? It was just ridiculous. So if I am Barack Obama, I think was the president at the time, if I'm Barack Obama, and I'm thinking, well, if these weapons go into these hands, one, they may not even be used for the fight, right? Two, they might be diverted to other things now that I would have to deal with again. I may have created my problem.
For starters.
Do you understand? So there's a lot of things to look at Nigeria as foreign aid and say, no, I can give you money under the guise of action aid and all these things where it's about humanitarian affairs. But when it comes to weapons, you have demonstrated that you don't have anything up here. You understand? So it will be dicey for me to give you these weapons. But notwithstanding, even when we do give you, we're not seeing them being put to good use. I remember when they talked about bringing drones and all these things, you know what I mean? In fact, no, this one I can tell you for a fact, yeah? This is direct. During Jonathan, and this is the reason why actually I entered politics. If you remember, Jonathan sent some of our soldiers to Russia for training, right? Was it Russia? Belarus, sorry, I think Belarus. Yeah. For training as under special forces, correct training. This is first-hand account, okay? These boys went and they got the training. They had everything. They were given nice weapons, ready to come back for action. Then Nigerian government didn't pay. So the government decided, okay, we can't remove the training for your heads. Go, right? But your weapons and everything, leave it here. So they came back with all this training and they were left with our nonsense AK-47s and whatever. You understand? When finally Buhari now came in and paid the bill, including the weapons.
So the Belarusian authorities?
Yes. He said, Edie, my things came the same way I wrapped them and put my name on my weapons and everything. Now, so it come from me. They were just sitting there waiting for the government to do the right thing. You understand? The natural. So they came and they were sent out there. That was, you remember, that's when now Jonathan was trying to save PDP and extended the elections by about 2 weeks or so.
Right.
That action, that abuse of power, that was why I became a politician. I said, no, that's enough. That's enough. You cannot abuse us to that extent. You had 16 years to govern us properly. It's now that it's looking like the writing is on the wall, you're about to lose. You think this last minute thing? No. So that's when I decided I am going to come out and I'm going to represent the sane people in this country. And he said it now. When the weapons came, there was some advancements.
Right.
Just before the elections, there were some wins that they hoped would. Why weren't those wins there before? Why weren't we looking at this as a serious issue? The same thing with the religious, so-called religious matter of the cattle herdsmen and the farmers. Why did we allow it to become this big thing when we could have contained it early? If you remember, there's a quote from Abacha. He said, any problem that goes beyond, is it 24 or 48 hours, government has hand in it. You understand? So what is the supposed government hand in it? There's too much money flowing when there's war. There's too much money flowing when there's insecurity. Whether it's the military, whether it's the politicians, defense is a good reason to draw budgets. Even America does it now. All these things that they're doing all around, it's money now. There's some people profiting from the fact that there is instability around the world. It has
both politicians and non-state actors.
Exactly. I don't know if you've watched the film Nicolas Cage, Lord of War or something. Yeah, Nicolas Cage was an illegal arms dealer, but he had some strong backing. Who are these people now? We know all of them. You know what I mean? Yes, it's Hollywood, but Hollywood always, there's no smoke without fire. They use this and then create the stories that we all hear and see. Right? Even all this technology that you see in films now, everything you see in a movie has already been produced somewhere. They've just been waiting at the right time to give it to us, the public. That's it. And it's the same thing with politics as well. All these ideas and all these conspiracy theories, they're not so far-fetched. They're not so far-fetched.
Let's talk about the responses we're seeing now. I mean, everybody seems to be speaking in favor of Nigeria. Well, hopefully that's what the intention is. We're hearing things like, well, Nigeria is a sovereign state. We have territorial integrity to guide and protect, and blah, blah, blah. Is that response sufficient?
I laughed when you said sovereign state because, America, for all of their ideals and everything, right? They don't really respect sovereignty of nations that much, do they? When it's in their interest, you know what I mean? So remember when they invaded Pakistan to go and kill?
The Laden case.
Exactly, you know what I mean? That was totally wrong internationally. You know what I mean? You just don't walk into my country and come and do something because that's not what happened in 9/11. It has nothing to do with Pakistan. That's not my problem. You know what I mean? You can't violate my territorial borders and just come into my country and do what you want to and leave. So America paints this picture of we are the global police, we're here for humanity, but they're not. Let's be real. I mean, America is there for its own interests. And we have seen the track record. I was a big Tony Blair fan because that was when I was in university, right? When Tony Blair emerged as prime minister, oh my God, Tony Blair could talk you. I swear to God, that man, him and Obama, oh boy, those people are great orators, yeah? But unfortunately, Tony Blair got caught up in the Iraq conspiracy of weapons of mass destruction, which again, as we now know, that was Colin Powell's most... they made Colin Powell, destroy himself in front of the UN, perpetrating a lie that he knew was a lie, you know what I mean? And he said it afterwards, you know what I mean? So Tony Blair got caught up in that, but look at what happened. They removed Saddam, and for all of his faults, Saddam had Iraq under control. Yeah, Iraq was a thriving country. Same thing with Gaddafi. So Gaddafi is an enemy to you, but from us in Africa here, Gaddafi had good intentions for the whole of Africa. You know what I mean? So from an African perspective, that was a good leader. That was someone who, like Thomas Sankara, the Mandelas, those were people who, if we had more of them all across Africa, yeah, the continent would, like I said earlier about Tinubu manning up, the continent would have its chest out and know exactly what to do with its vast resources. These same resources that the Americans, the Chinas, the Russians, everybody is eyeing. They came here, they carved us all up, created all these artificial boundaries, lumped us all together. Look at where we are in Nigeria today. You know what I mean? I try to promote a new vision, a rebranding of us called the United Tribes of Nigeria, but are we really united We're not. Let's be real with ourselves. A friend of mine actually highlighted that point for me. He said, Edie, we're not united, and we will probably never be united, but we can be unified behind a cause. Good example of that is when the Super Eagles play. When the Super Eagles are playing, well, Nigeria is one. We don't care whether majority of the team is Igbo. We are Super Eagles, Nigeria first. And all of our athletes, this Amosun girl, all of our athletes, they all, as with all, our biggest resource in Nigeria is us, the people. Everywhere we go internationally, once we are given the opportunities that a sane government provides its own citizens, we flourish, and we thrive. Look at even in America, the best of the best, you go and find mostly are Nigerians. So what are we talking about? Do we really need anybody's help? No, we just need a shift in our psychology. Do you understand? I keep telling people, we the people own government. They are there to serve us. In fact, they only exist. I'm a constitutional lawyer. The government exists primarily because of Chapter 2 of the Constitution, right? That is where it derives all of its powers. Section 13 specifically says all organs, all persons, all agencies, bodies exercising under the guise of government must conform to, observe, and apply the provisions of Chapter 2. Section 224 goes further to say every political party must also conform to, observe, and apply the provisions of Chapter 2. Now, what does Chapter 2 say? Chapter 2 gives us our political, social, and economic objectives, right? So let me give you an example now. I'm actually filing this case against INEC this week to say the Constitution says privatization is illegal, okay? But they deliberately, right, sold off all our national assets to themselves during Obasanjo's time. Under who? Vice President Atiku Abubakar, who is now saying, I want to be your president, right? But this section 16(1)(c) says the state must manage and operate all major sectors of the economy. Section 16(2)(c) follows that up to say the government, the state is not permitted to introduce an economic policy that allows for the concentration of wealth in the hands of a few individuals or groups. What is privatization? Is that not it?
Right.
That's it. So our constitution says go like this. PDP took us like this. APC came and continued with that trend. Because Tinubu and Buhari, they were still doing the whole capitalist policies, right? And I'm not here to say privatization is good or bad. I'm simply saying the Constitution did not allow it. Moreover, the Constitution says we are a socialist state, which means we should have free education, we should have free healthcare, we should have free housing for all citizens. It's there in black and white, right? What the Supreme Court, right, inexplicably ruled was that everything under Chapter 2 is non-justiciable. We cannot talk about it.
Right.
Do you understand? Does that make any sense to you?
That makes it problematic.
It's not even problematic. It's nonsensical. How can you say, you people, you've hired a mega today, right? You said your constitution is your job description. See what you can and what you cannot do. The mega collects it, looks at it, throws it in the dustbin, tells you now, the Oga of the house, to go and stand by the gate because now he is Oga. That is exactly what's going on in Nigeria. Government that exists by our pleasure has now become our lords. So if they are passing convoy and there's hold up that should not be there. If you were doing your job, your people would drop and be lashing us. That's why I said when they even send you to the gatehouse, so now brutality they do for you. If you don't open gate in time, they will lash you. Something where you know they even do to them. You understand? Right. So let us accept, and first, like I said, we need a reorientation. We need to press reset. Let's first and foremost know who we are so that we can know where we want to go. Look at it. They even removed history from our curriculum at one point. That's how far they want to go to hide the truth about how inept they have been since since independence.
All right, there's quite a number of things to talk about, but let's take a quick break at this point, everyone. When we return, we'll talk about the possibility of the U.S. Going forward with these threats of attacking Nigeria. What exactly does that mean in context? Stay with us. It is largely believed by many that there is no much of specifics, all right, to Trump's threats. He just talks about gun blazing, what have you. And then the question of who will be attacked in the process. Is it the government? Is it the terrorists or the people? of Nigeria. Help us, I mean, this is hazy as it stands right now. Help us put some sense into that.
It's not hazy, it's crystal clear. What happens when America invades? We've seen it. Iraq, Afghanistan, anywhere they go, is just flatten the place so that their construction companies and their own private sector engineers can come and now get work. That's their work. They will go, they will destroy a place, and then there are people who come and rebuild it. You understand? So again, let's not be fooled. So now let's come back to the specifics of what an attack in Nigeria would actually be like. So yesterday I had, I kind of read the lay of the land in the country, especially with social media. When you read comments, you kind of get the tone of the country, right? And this was my takeaway yesterday, and it's quite pathetic and it's quite sad, but here it is. There is the sense of, and it has always been like that in Nigeria, when it's not affecting you directly, it's not a problem. Yeah. So right now, when it was Boko Haram and at their side, if I think President Jonathan even said it at one point, and at the end they're their team. When it's Niger Delta and it's me, I'm in Northeast, when at their team for South South, you not concern me. Right. So today now it's well, unless you're an Islamist or a terrorist or whatever, this will not concern me. But it does. Unless you I don't know if you watched the last James Bond film, I think No Time to Die, where they developed this weapon where that could target people specifically. So if we're 100 people in this room and it's only you they want to kill, they will release it in here and it's only you that will die. Right. So if it is that kind of weapon that they want to deploy here and target, is it Muslims? Is it extremists? Because I don't know how you want to distinguish between those of us that are calm and I love my Christian brother and we're good, and the ones that are causing problems. I don't know how you do that. Right. If it is that they're going to come in and go to Zambiza Forest, go to Kainji National Park, where if terrorists, because right now Niger State has become just as bad as Borno. If you don't know, it is all these terrorists that the army and air force keep bombing. Where do they go? They just move from bush to bush, and that forest, this Zambiza Forest, as I've heard, I'm not actually sure about this, but apparently it runs all the way from Borno all the way to Niger, as in that thick vegetation, whatever. There's a link somehow apparently. So even if it doesn't, it extends extensively, and we all know Niger State is the largest state in Nigeria, right, and Kainji National Park is huge. So if it is that they're going to go into those places, use drones with thermal heat reading signatures and stuff, it's not impossible to find these people now. You understand? So if it is that, and you're going to leave our cities and our I don't know, I was going to say infrastructure, but what infrastructure? We don't have infrastructure. So if it is that we're going to be sensible about it, you understand? We do need the help. Let's not lie. We do need the help. These terrorists and these insurgents, they have weapons that are more sophisticated than what our own troops are using. You know what I mean? Our troops are limited in ammunition and in resources. So we need aid to take the fight to them. If it is you're going to give us the weapons and let us now assertively, right, deal with this thing once and for all, or if it is they're going to come in under the guise of foreign aid and help us, and even at that, oh boy, who says we wanted you? What do we want China? What do we want Russia? Right. You understand? Must it be you all the time? You understand? I personally prefer the kind of help that China gives. I prefer the kind of help that Russia gives, if I'm going to be honest. You know what I mean? So again, it is all about we should decide our own fate, not you from outside, because it is not like we are not capable. Right. So calm down, Mr. Trump, or President Trump. Always give respect to the office. So calm down, President Trump, right? Let us have dialogue first, right? Look at the guy on the seat right now, and if you're like me, you think, this is not the guy to do it, yeah? Then have dialogues with people who can. Like I said, I believe where we need you the most, President Trump, is in electoral monitoring. These upcoming elections, we need it to be free and fair. Right now, as a lawyer, as my NGO, that FISCREF, we are helping other youth and women-led parties that are trying, movements that are trying to register and become political parties so that they can participate in their government. Because that's how you participate in their government. It has to be participatory. Exactly. The Constitution says we cannot run as independents. We must align with the political party. But then they have now made the political parties all about money. They will freeze you out with nomination forms. You understand? You can't afford it. Right? And the parties that can say, hey, come, don't worry, you don't need to. I ran for governor in 2019, and my party chairman, my political father, right? I won't call him godfather because he's not. My political father, he calls himself my elder brother, but I give him, no, this man is old enough to be my father. And the advice he gave me at the time was, if you come and take a platform on my party, go and run for governor in your state. Let them know you there. Then let us talk about the presidency. And I followed his advice, and I went and ran for governor in 2019 with less than 3 million naira. Right? But all I was trying to achieve at that time was to inspire my generation to say, come, it does not need money. You do not need all these godfathers. Let us rise up and let us show what democracy actually requires as the standard numbers.
Incidentally, this much time will allow us. But I'd like to say a big thank you to you.
Thank you very much. That was a wonderful experience.
Mohammed Maina Waziri, for coming to share with us this morning. We don't take it for granted. We wish you the best of the week.
Thank you very much.
Great. We're taking a quick break at this point. Everyone, we'll return. Ramsey and I will wrap up the show for you. Do stay with us.